Was the morning before Christmas. Welcome to SimWorld today on this December 23rd, not Hollows, Christmas Eve. I am Marsh, joined by Rick Blaze in this festive season. Good morning, Rick. How are you?
Yo, it's good to be here. It's cold as balls. Not in Houston, but everywhere else.
Well, let's see. Let's get a quick temp check. 62 degrees, a frigid 62 degrees in South Florida. As you can see, the Beanie Brothers had to be here today, not the Bonnet Brothers this Monday, Rick. Keep them ears nice and warm. But let's dive in. Plenty of activity to talk to on a stacked football weekend. SWBA decided they didn't even want to bother competing. They put 3 games on a Sunday, not much to react to. So let's go football on a Monday. We're going to talk college football postseason. We are going to get a little bit of basketball weekend or talk to close it out. But how about this one? Washington Commanders storm back
Yep.
and stun the Philadelphia Eagles, scoring with less than 10 seconds to get the victory and keep their current positioning in the postseason.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels had another fantastic day. To me, he's the he's obviously the rookie of the year. But I think the big story is the Eagles' quarterback situation. They did all this with their backup quarterback in the game. Jalen Hurts got hurt early in the first quarter. So, shout
11th
out to the
play.
Eagles defense and the Eagles team for competing. Jaden Daniels was fantastic. And I think the Eagles right now are concerned about their quarterback, make sure he's ready to go for the playoff push.
Well, concussions normally are a 2 week, if not less than that, turnaround time. So I don't think I'd be too concerned with the Eagles not having their quarterback available. But um,
Wait. Well, how can you say you cannot be too concerned? We haven't even found out the diagnosis of the concussion.
well, because history
It
tells
could
us
be a 4 week.
concussions
It could be a 4 week situation.
traditionally concussions are not. And if you look at how close Hurts appeared to be to returning, I am not gonna. I'm not advocating for people rushing back, but you see 4 weeks when it's Tua who has a baker's dozen concussions on his career list. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts has been pretty healthy throughout his career. I mean, you get the nicks and bruises of a running quarterback, but I thought this was a big win. So I'm not concerned about the Eagles not having their quarterback. I'm more concerned about in general if they just decide to choke out one another because player A doesn't get enough from player B, and however that locker room dynamic has deteriorated to chaos. But this was a huge win, in my opinion, from Washington, which shouldn't be a shock. But just because Jalen Hurts was out does not mean that the Eagles' defense was any less capable. They were missing the pieces that they have grown to rely on, and it was an absolutely stunning comeback from Jaden Daniels. I mean, a rookie, granted at home, going up against a team that's leading the division, that's been to the Super Bowl within the last 2 years, who's a 10-win team the last 2 years, and not being concerned at all and staring down the gun and saying it's time to get this thing back on the road and takes over in that fourth quarter in that final drive. That is incredibly difficult situation to put any quarterback in. And Jaden Daniels has risen to the occasion. People want to talk about, well, he just runs. He just runs because he's pretty damn good at it. And his legs saved them on multiple fourth downs and giving them an opportunity to be in position for that final touchdown. And then that is a absolutely beautiful pass to close things out in that football game. That was stunning to me. Not the fact that he did it, but the odds that they were up against. A loss there, you fall to 9-7. Suddenly, you are tied with Los Angeles. If the Rams were to be in a position where they would not win the division, but they're in a good spot for that, you'd have the same record as the Rams. You'd only be 1 game up on. I think the Seahawks ended up losing, right? So the Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, who we'll get to. That was a huge moment and a must-win moment, and Jaden Daniels rose to the occasion, Rick. And to me, I think that's the most impressive part of that, is what was at stake and what he got done.
I mean, he was fantastic. Everything you said, ditto. He was fantastic. Last night, he did what the team needed him to do. And I think the notion of him just being around is hogwash. You haven't watched the game. He's a
No,
passer first and a very good passer of the football. Just
and he
because
just
he has
happens to
the
be athletic.
And just because he has the element of run, no one ever said Josh Allen, all he does is run. Those stigmatisms are crazy talk. But he's a hell of a quarterback, and for it being his rookie year, he has a lot of bright future ahead of him.
Let's just hope there's no rain on any potential home football or any playoff football game that involves the Washington football team this postseason. All right, let's move to a new starting quarterback, another rookie QB, which you certainly were rejoiced with. Michael Penix making his debut in a 34-7 win over the ever difficult to beat New York Giants, who lose their 10th straight game. 200 yards passing, one pick, though the pick is hardly his fault for Michael Penix, and the Falcons offense puts up 34 points on a lowly Giants defense.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Giants, but still, it's a professional football team. And the Giants came out and tried to stop this rookie. It's hard for rookies. This part does not be stressed enough. The game is a lot faster for rookies, especially at the quarterback position. I think Penix has had the luxury of sitting down a little bit, so I think the game came to him pretty good. He was just managing the game, didn't have to do anything crazy, but he did a good job. The Falcons was moving football. They looked like they had a pulse on offense. They wasn't just calling the same runs left, same runs right. They actually had I think the whole playbook or most of the playbook was available to call, and they moved the ball and they got a dub. So I think this move for Penix was like 4 weeks too late, but because the division sucks so much, they had the luxury of waiting. Now you can see the Falcons, those birds, those dirty birds, are starting to fly because Durag Penix is on the prowl.
Durag Penix. It's tough to really get a good takeaway when you play the New York Giants. I'm not saying that a bad quarterback can step in and play well against the Giants, but they certainly aren't the most formidable of foes with their 10th straight loss. But all that said, this was you want to talk about situational wins. This was a big situation. The Falcons needed a win and they needed some help. And now they are in the driver's seat. The Buccaneers lost. The Falcons now, in order for Tampa Bay to win the division, the Falcons have to lose again. So the control of the division is moved back to Atlanta. That is the stakes of the situation. I thought Michael Penix lived up to it. I don't have any hot takes on this one. I watched the game. I thought he played well. He didn't look uncomfortable. He looked very much within his realm, and it helps when you run the ball 38 times for 127 yards. The only other big takeaway is it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Apparently, we're never going to get production out of Kyle Pitts like we have grown to expect from him. 2 targets, 1 reception, 7 yards. I don't know at this point what else, because he's talented. I don't know what else at this point needs to be done for Kyle Pitts, because last night was not it. All right, let's stay in the division where the Carolina Panthers, folks, just might be the latest bloomer who have been looking very fine as they get an overtime win over the Arizona Cardinals, eliminating the Arizona Cardinals from playoff contention. But Carolina, these last couple weeks, ever since Andy Dalton went down and Bryce Young stepped back in, have been a good football team. And yesterday, Bryce Young looked like a very good quarterback.
The young man obviously needed some time to let the game come to him and to kind of mature in the game, and he's showing that. Like, hey, this is why they drafted me #1. Now, you can nothing about your size, but your heart and your ability to play football is still the same. The defense for the Panthers has really stepped up as well. We saw the Cardinals were down most of this game, 20-3 for most of the game. They came back and rallied to make it a game. But the Cardinals was balling. I mean, the Panthers were balling on both sides of the field. You see Hubbard, who had an excellent game and the game-winning run as well. So look out for the Panthers, man. They're not as lonely as people may have thought a few weeks ago. About a month and a half ago.
No, they've been, ever since Bryce Young really stepped back into the starting role, I think they've been a really competent football team. Okay, he was out of the starting spot until November 24th, when they, actually, I take that back. He came back in on the 27th of October. They kind of struggled late in October, and then he gets the roll back, and they win 2 games against New Orleans and New York, not great wins, and then 1 possession losses to Kansas City, Tampa Bay, and Philadelphia, and then a tough loss to Dallas. Now, you're going to look at the stats and say Bryce Young didn't play well. 158, 2 touchdowns. This isn't Bryce Young. if you watch the game, Bryce Young was in control. He was calm. His 2 touchdown passes, including the one over the top, who caught that one? To David Moore. It's
Yep.
a over the shoulder front pylon. Put it in the only place that you could possibly put a football to make it a reception. And he just dropped it right in there. The Panthers didn't need him to throw for 250 yards because Chuba Hubbard was probably on his way to that, but just ran out of time because he went 25 for 152. This was a awesome Panthers performance, and this continues to be a really great renaissance from Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. It's all about the patience. You mentioned he needed to get his feet underneath him. He did that. He's been doing that for the past month and change, really 2 months now. He has looked more comfortable, and his team has been putting him in a better situation because the coaching has been given the time. I think this is a Carolina team we, for some reason, didn't expect enough out of. Or excuse me, we didn't expect a lot out of, but we still expected too much. And I think that's why all this early season kerfluffle over who Bryce Young was just overblown. I think he's been a really good quarterback since he took back over for Andy Dalton. And I think that's a huge positive. And last night, they played, again, you want to talk about meaningful football games. Maybe the Panthers aren't making a push here, but you're playing against a team that's playing desperate. And you answered the call, you played in that environment, and you played spoiler. That's a win if I'm the Carolina Panthers, obviously, in the record sheet, but also in the locker room to say, guys, we have a football team. We got the pieces here that can be competitive in our division and in our conference.
Yeah, unfortunately for the teams the Panthers are going to have to play, the Panthers actually finding their rhythm, and they want to play spoiler. They're playing really good football right now. I bet they wish they had another 4 weeks to go because they finally getting their rhythm. So look out for them for next season. My man went down, the running back. I hate for that for him with the knee injury again, the UT product, but we're going to talk about UT in a minute. But yeah, look out for the Panthers in 25-26.
Well, they're close out with Tampa and Atlanta on the road. So you want to talk about
Spoilers.
high stakes football. That's what the Panthers are walking their way into. All right, you mentioned UT. A bit of a snooze fest over the weekend in college football in the opening round of quarterfinal football. Not a single one was really all that competitive. A quartet of ugly coming up to us over the weekend. Clemson gets smacked by Texas 38-24 in a game that looks closer than it was. The other ones didn't even look close. Ohio State with a 42-17 win, Penn State a 38-10 win, and Notre Dame beats Indiana 27-17, also a game that was not close at all. Rick, take it where you want. These 4 games were not what we expected. Or maybe
Yeah, I mean, I see you see teams that's doing what they did best against these games. UT ran the ball exceptionally well. I think, but here's the thing. All that was appetizer food because now the big boys play. You got number 5 versus number 4 in Texas and Arizona State. You have Penn State and Boise State, number 3 and number 6. Notre Dame and Georgia, I think is going to be a fantastic game. So now I think the stakes are rising. Now the Ohio State Oregon game, we're going to see about that. But now I think you get into the big boy status. You get into where the big boys play. And now you're going to see if the last week was snooze fest, cool. This is going to be fright fest because now it's going down. It's going to be a big deal. Now you get to see what college football is all about.
All right, so we have the number 1 team, the number 2 team, according to the college football playoff rankings, not their seeding rankings. The number 1 team, Oregon, 2 team, Georgia, 3 team, Texas, 4 team, Notre Dame, 5 team, 4 team, Penn State, 5 is Notre Dame, 6 Ohio State. All 6 of them advance, with the 2 not being number 9, Boise State, and number 12, Arizona State, who got byes because they won their conference.
All right.
I was never a huge fan. 12 always seemed too big to me. I don't know that there's a huge difference if you're sitting here between the guy that's sitting at number 8 at 9 and the guy that's sitting at number 12. And I'm not here to take a victory lap after one weekend, but one weekend made that look very true because the teams that we expected to advance, not only did they advance, but they absolutely demolished. And I think there can be some reference to the fact that you had home field advantage, and especially in situations where you're walking into colder environments. I mean, not that Dallas is exceptionally warm this time of year, but it's still a heck of a lot warmer than it is at Notre Dame's campus. But to me, I think that was a huge part of it, but it just did not look like we needed 12 teams. And you've got all this clamoring that we need 16 teams because Alabama's got a little problem with losing 3 times and still not getting an opportunity to play for a national championship. God forbid. But maybe we didn't need 12. We're not moving back to 8. I'm not advocating for that. I don't think it's going to happen. I know it's not going to happen because dollar bills mean a heck of a lot more for 4 extra games. And if we're doing anything, we're getting bigger. But this weekend was exceptionally disappointing. And it's exceptionally disappointing for the teams that we have always given no credit to. And they did not deserve the credit over the weekend. Indiana did not look like a football team that deserved to be playing in a college football playoff. SMU, their offense, absolutely atrocious. The ACC had the worst possible day where both of their conference champions get absolutely snubbed by much better competition. At this point, is college football just appears to just kind of be boiled down to the SEC and Big Ten invitational. And frankly, both of those conferences want that to be the case anyway. So a disappointing day, Rick.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with that. I would have liked to see Miami get in. I think that'd been fun. Here's the thing. For 10 through 12, how about if they're never going to do this, so this is complete hyperbole, but how about if the voters and the choosers of the rankings pick the teams that the country would rather see? Whether it's 2 wins, 2 losses, 4 losses, 3 losses. Since you're saying those last guys are subpar anyway, let's pick some favorites then. Some teams that we would love to see.
Man, it's a bold take. It's a bold take, and I do not have enough time to say why I do not like that. But I do not like that. All right, let's move to the last piece of this.
You don't like nothing.
I like things, just not stupid things. So let's move to the last piece where a little bit of news and rumors that we have for you as college basketball offers continue to kind of trickle around and come in for some. But there's also the case that some might be leaving others, as sources have told ESPN that some scouts are getting a little frustrated with the lack of commitments and going as far to say that some players are divas today. And coaches are noting, saying it's important for players to be aware of their standing and know what they want out of a college because there are only so many top schools looking for day one talent stars. This comes after we really have had a lack of major signings this season, Rick, and it appears to be because guys are just trying to accumulate. They're trying to smog it up, be their giant with all the gold they can get and get all the offers. And we've seen that approach not pay off for guys like Gabe Pope, who had 20-something offers and schools started redacting them or retracting them last season towards the end of the recruitment cycle. Your thoughts?
It's definitely a dice roll. I understand the players want to wait, and some players are waiting to be with their teammates. We live in a very happy, friendly AAU style, prep style basketball where everybody knows everybody, everybody's cool, with everybody, and everybody want to go to Mary Poppins land with everybody. So a lot of these players are waiting for their friends and their friends of their friends to say they going here and they're gonna just team up like it's some kind of fighting game and Metal Gear Solid or something and Call of Duty, and they're gonna just play basketball together in that kind of format. So you gotta do what's best for you and your family. And if your school came at you and there's somewhere you want to go, someplace you feel like you belong, I think you should jump on it. However, it is your right to wait. And if you choose to sit at the campus, has the right to also pull the rug up from under you and give the scholarship to a person who's willing and ready to sign right now. It's a two-way street.
I think it's unreasonable for any person, regardless of if you are a college recruit trying to get offers to go to, or a high school recruit trying to get offers to go to college, or whether you are an adult trying to get a job, okay? The options that you have are never the options of the future. They're the options that you have right now, right? And you have to make a decision based off that, okay? Now, there are going to be times where you make a decision and you say, well, I would really like Team X to offer me a contract or offer me a scholarship. It's within your right to try to wait it out, but it's unreasonable to think that the options that you currently have at your disposal are also going to wait you out. I can tell you from life experience, when somebody offers you something, that does not mean that offer is meant to stay for the rest of time. It is meant to stay long enough for you to make a decision and move on. So I think these kids are learning that. I think Gabe Pope is the poster child of that learning lesson last season, where I think he had like 20 offers that were retracted by schools because they just didn't simply want to wait around for him any longer. They had to make decisions. I think it's important and imperative that players understand that. Some of them are going to lose it, are going to learn it the hard way. It's just a matter of seeing how hard that lesson ends up being. All right, that is our show for today. We have a full slate of action on Monday and Tuesday, 4 games of SimWorld U, and then we've got a CBS Christmas Eve spectacular. Wisconsin and Virginia Tech will be squaring off at noon on CBS, so make sure you are tuning in for that. Maestro and Sam will be on the call. No better entertainment than that one that you could possibly get for your Christmas Eve, and of course, we will have the game of the week coming up on the 26th. With Arkansas and North Carolina, not Creighton and Missouri. All right, that's our show. We'll be back on Christmas Eve to talk more hoops and other action. Rick, as always, great to have you on. And we will talk to everybody on Christmas Eve and here on SimWorld Today and SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.
This has been a presentation of SimWorld Sports.